UFC 294 is in the books and has wrapped up one of the strangest nights in the UFC's history, with weird finishes and end of fights, a fight card which was completely different when it was first announced, a fight card which had Khamzat Chimaev scheduled to fight Paulo Costa and Islam Makhachev fighting Charles Oliveira. Both Brazilians got injured, which caused a reshuffle of the card, seeing some massive excitement and hype before the fight, with Kamaru Usman making his middleweight debut taking on Khamzat Chimaev and Alex Volkanovski taking on Islam Makhachev on short notice in their rematch from UFC 284 earlier this year. Did these changes make a much better card, and did this card live up to the new rejuvenated hype? This is the fight franchise and the recap and review of UFC 294. The first fight on the card was the debuting Shara Magomedov taking on Bruno Silva. Shara Magomedov had a lot of hype coming into the UFC, being undefeated at 11-0 and with 10 finishes. Many thought he would get another finish. He would end up going the full 3 rounds in quite the fun performance and win a decision. The next fight would be Victoria Dudakova versus Jin Yu Frey in the women's strawweight division in a back and forth fight which saw Dudakova get the nod on the judges' scorecards, doing the better work in round 1 and 3. The next fight was at featherweight with Mohamed Naimov versus Nathaniel Wood, where the two fought in a scrappy back and forth. Naimov did get lucky having multiple infringements in the fight with cage grabs and groin shots and some glove grabs, and was lucky to not get a point deducted. Naimov would win the decision, which was unlucky for Wood, who fought very hard. Mike Breeden took on Anshul Jubli in quite the fun fight. Jubli did great in the first 2 rounds, winning the first 2 rounds and was doing great work. However, in the 3rd round, Breeden scored the brilliant comeback win and KO, which is unfortunate for Jubli as Mike Breeden did miss weight before the fight. Abu Azaitar took on Cedric Dumas in an interesting fight which was real close, with both guys landing big shots. The first round seemed like quite the clear round for Dumas, and the second round seemed to go in the favour of Azaitar, who landed the more power shots. It seemed the 3rd round was a toss-up round, which was real close. I did think Azaitar won watching live, but the judges gave it 29-28 to Dumas, who won the decision in a close fight which, to be honest, could have been a draw. The next fight, undefeated Javid Basharat took on Victor Henry in one of the strangest fights in the UFC's history. Javid Basharat would have a close back and forth in the first round, where he done the better work. The second round, he would land a brutal groin kick, which sent Henry crashing to the canvas. Henry got a 5-minute timeout and was screaming in agony, and couldn't make the 5-minute timeout, and the fight ended in a no contest due to an illegal groin shot. Thoughts from the fight franchise are with Victor Henry, who was rushed to hospital, as that is a huge fear for a lot of guys, and I definitely don't envy him in the slightest. Next up, Trevor Peek would take on Mohamed Yahya, where Trevor Peek did the better work over 3 rounds, where he even survived a DARS attempt from Yahya. Peek won the unanimous decision in a great performance. Up next was a brilliant fight at flyweight between Tim Elliott taking on the hyped Mohamed Makhachev. In a fight we saw Makhachev tested. The first round, Elliott did good stuffing the takedown by Makhachev and doing the better work overall to steal the round. The second round, Makhachev done the better work and got on top of Elliott, but Tim Elliott was landing some good strikes from bottom and threatened with a triangle, where Makhachev slammed Elliott, which Elliott said flashed him in the corner. The third round, Makhachev would peek out and secured a brilliant takedown and would secure an arm triangle to secure the amazing win in a fight which he may have been losing on the scorecards, which is a huge bonus point for him. He fought back from adversity in a difficult fight and got the win, and let's hope he can get a higher ranked opponent and can get that title shot. That brought the end to quite the lackluster and strange prelims and early prelims. The main card began with Muin Gafarov taking on Said Nurmagomedov, where Gafarov rushed in and Nurmagomedov cinched up the guillotine and finished him in just over a minute with a brilliant win and a great way to start the main card. Ikram Aliskerov and Wally Alves were up next, where Aliskerov swarmed Wally Alves early on and landed brilliant strikes, backing him up against the cage and finished him with a barrage of strikes to end the fight in the first 2 minutes of the first round. A great win for Aliskerov, who is now 2-0 in the UFC. Magomed Ankalaev took on Johnny Walker, where the fight was back and forth on the feet, where both guys were landing strikes. Walker faked being injured and threw a flying knee, and Ankalaev would go for a takedown. While down, Ankalaev threw an illegal knee and the ref jumped in. The doctor came in and spoke briefly with Johnny Walker, who seemed okay, but the doctor just ended the fight and didn't use the full 5 minutes during the break. After the fight, both guys were ready to go at one another, with Dana White having to step in the cage. A weird fight for both, with Ankalaev having that draw with Jan Blachowicz and now this, and Johnny Walker, who was on a brilliant year, who had this ruin his chance of going 3-0 for the year. Let's hope they get rematched up again soon. The co-main event was a super hyped fight, with Khamzat Chimaev returning after a year, taking on the short notice Kamaru Usman, making his middleweight debut. The fight was real interesting, as a brilliant performance by either guy could earn them a title shot. Khamzat started the fight as he usually does, at 100 miles per hour, and dominated Usman like we have never seen before, landing ground and pound and threatening with chokes, but he was unable to secure the victory. This was a dominant round for Khamzat, which many people said was a 10-8. The second round was weird. After a dominant first round from Chimaev, he kept it on the feet with Usman, who was comfortable with the stand-up. This round was very close and could be scored either way, but Chimaev scored a last-minute takedown but did no damage. The third round on the feet, Usman had more success, but Chimaev landed a takedown and did a bit of damage, but it was more just control. Usman got back up eventually, where they scrapped to the final bell. A hard to score fight with draws, some people calling it, but if you look at the fight, the control and the domination in round 1, I think Khamzat Chimaev deserved the nod. But credit for Usman for taking the fight on short notice and giving us fans a show and a bunch of pre-fight hype. The main event was originally scheduled to be the rematch between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev too. However, Oliveira would suffer a cut, which the UFC would scramble for a short notice opponent. They went with none other than featherweight champ Alex Volkanovski after his incredible fight earlier in the year with Makhachev, which many people thought he won the fight. Volk took this fight on 12 days notice and was a huge ask, and both men were up to the challenge, with Islam, who had a full training camp, with the odds hugely in his favour. They squared off where Islam was pressuring with kicks and Alex was trying to use his boxing. They were up against the cage where Islam was using brilliant knees while Volk was able to use his strength to nullify Islam's grappling. They separated where Islam threw an amazing head kick which rocked Volk where he went down, and Islam landed a flurry of punches and stopped Alex Volkanovski. This was unreal, as a lot of us did not see this coming from the grapple heavy Islam Makhachev. For so long he has been known for his grappling and ground game, but his recent performances have shown he is great on the feet, dropping Oliveira before finishing him and having success on the feet versus Volk in their first fight and now stopping him. Credit to Islam for this brilliant win and finish. I know a lot of people will say that Volk didn't have a full camp and time to prepare, but let's be honest, this was definitive. Islam took care of business and showed the difference. We have seen cases like Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman 1, where Masvidal took the fight on short notice and went all 5 rounds. Islam didn't go all 5 rounds. He stopped and finished him and showed how much he is improving, and it's going to be fun seeing his reign at lightweight. Let's just hope we get 3 fights from him next year. As for Volk, hopefully he gets a huge payday from this, and everyone gives him credit for showing the balls to get in there with one of the best in the world. As for his post-fight speech, I hope he is doing good mentally, as it seems he struggles mentally when he doesn't have a fight or something to work towards. Let's hope we see him go on a good turnaround in January and see him defend his title a few times next year. He is a fan favourite and deserves all the respect in the world for taking on this challenge. This brought the end to the strangest card of the year, with a lot of decisions and lackluster action. This fight card wasn't the best. I think we was all hyped with the card shuffle, but the prelims didn't deliver. The only decent part, Mike Breeden's comeback KO and Muhammad Makhachev's submission win. The main card started great with those 2 early finishes, but the end of the Ankalaev and Johnny Walker fight was just terrible and left a sour taste in fans' mouths. And also the Kamaru Usman Khamzat Chimaev fight was fun. I was just hoping for a bit more action. No fault on the main event, as it delivered one of the best moments of the year. If we are going to grade this card, it gets a D. Nothing special about this card. The only reason it was saved from being the worst card of the year was the finish of the main event, which is one of the best moments of the year. Let's just hope the UFC's annual card at MSG delivers on its hype, with one of the most exciting fights ever and the heavyweight GOAT versus the GOAT. Did you enjoy the video? Let us know down in the comments below. What did you think of UFC 294 and what would you grade it as a pay-per-view? Put your review in the comments below. And what did you think about the main event? Is Islam Makhachev the pound for pound best in the world right now? Put that down in the comments below. Leave a like if you've enjoyed the video and subscribe for more MMA and fight content coming soon. We hope you enjoyed the video and we'll catch you in the next one.